So I'm gonna hop into the platform. It is a web-based learning portal or learning platform. You've got a lot of controls here though, so I want to make sure you understand that each customer is going to have their own unique tenant. Also, I'm logging in with credentials because I have a demo environment that I'm demoing out of, but absolutely your customers can use a login like this, or we can connect to SSO if they have Azure Active Directory in place. We would not necessarily need to have users sign in. We can just use their Office 365 credentials there. So I'll go ahead and log in, and this will take me right into the platform here. And the first thing that's going to do is it's going to give me an introduction. Sorry, let me turn down the volume here. So an introduction is going to come to me about what the platform is and really how to engage with the platform. I'll go ahead and skip the intro, and this will drop me into the first thing that the system is asking me to do. So in the spirit of personalization, we want to know who I am and what department I work for and what my job title is, because we're going to be able to profile the user and deliver very relevant content based on those things. This happens to be pulling from Active Directory, so I'm just going to verify that it is correct, and I'll continue along. Now I want to know what are the applications that this user has used in the past. So yeah, I've used Outlook and Excel. I've never used OneDrive or Skype or Teams or Office 365, but I've used Windows, and I guess I haven't used Surface Hub. This list is populated based on the way the system is set up, so what the customer is rolling out. In this case, they're rolling out Surface Hub, but your customer may not be, so those users wouldn't see those applications. So again, very much a customizable experience here. And how frequently have I used those applications in the past? All right, so that's it for me. That's a one-time session. As a user, that's the only time I'll be asked to complete an intake, and that's going to be useful for me, of course, with regard to the system and being able to personalize content for me. All right, so we found out my learning path or user journey is created, and now I'll click Get Started. It's factored in things that I've put in place on the setup side, on the IT side, so the learning objectives of the company, and then also it's factoring in perhaps what I have answered there. You'll notice I earned a badge for that, so there's full gamification in the system, and there's badging in place as well, so you can see if users how they're doing with their learning. And users can really compete one with another on badges and on placement in an organization. So this is the first course that I'm being directed to. I'm being dropped into here because I'm a new hire. So this is a new hire orientation. This is an HR piece, and this may be a piece that you want new hires to go through, which talks about the value of learning and getting started within the organization. And there are great courses built right into the system. I'm going to back up one level though to the skill path level and show you the different skill paths that are in the system and have already have been created for you to utilize. Again, not all of these would necessarily be assigned to me as a user. They may get assigned at some point, but we're going to keep the assignments pretty short and sweet to begin with to give the user some really targeted learning that's going to be applicable to them. You can see we've got everything for Office 2016, for SharePoint mobility. We've got some great security training, which would definitely be assigned to me as a new hire and give me some perspective on phishing and malware attacks and how to really be aware of those and not fall for those. I'll go ahead and start though and show you as an example of Skype for Business, which is something that's very applicable in most organizations. You'll see here that this skill path consists of 7 courses, and the courses are may or may not be applicable to me as a user, and I may not even be assigned a course on using Skype as my phone if that's not functionality that I have. So again, it's really going to be dependent on how the system is set up as to what content is available to me or shown to me. And then the courses are going to be groups of asset types. And the asset types, as I mentioned, are videos, there are events, there are polling questions. So I'll just hit begin, and this will take me into the Introduction to Skype for Business, which is the first course that I have assigned here. Erin Eide is a Microsoft MVP for Skype, and she is a great trainer of ours. She's going to walk me through the Skype interface and what I can expect and how I can get started there. This is a 2-minute video, so it's very informational for me, but it's also very bite-sized and consumable. I can download a PDF on the side, which is a use case for collaborating with Skype. So there are different learning modalities that are available within the system, and that's really an important piece of QuickHelp. It's not just a whole bunch of video content that's given to me. So Erin's going to take me through this. I'll actually fast forward through to the next asset, which in this case happens to be a live training event. So live events, again, we do about 45 live events every month in the system. And these live events are tremendous value to your customers in demonstrating the art of the possible, demonstrating the why. We have a saying here at Brainstorm that without the why, the how doesn't matter. And if you think about yourself and your experience with things like Teams and OneDrive and you name the product, until you've understood why it matters for you to use OneNote, for example. It's the how to use OneNote and how to create a notebook and a page. Those things don't really matter. So we've identified this critical need in the learning process, and we've incorporated live training events right into our system. Because I've been assigned an introduction or getting started with Skype for Business, that is going to be placed in my course. So as a user, I'll choose a day and time that work for me, and I'll choose July 5th at 9 a.m. and register for that event. That will send me a calendar invite that will live on my Outlook calendar and will then be an event that's there for me to click on the day and time, and then that will of course direct me back to QuickHelp to consume that event. The events are streamed through Azure. You don't need a separate WebEx or GoToMeeting or anything like that. The system, if the users can access QuickHelp, they can consume the live training events. They're complete with Q&A for question and answer sessions with the trainer, and those are monitored, so as the trainer's presenting, the users can be asking questions and those will be answered real time. Those events are, again, a tremendous benefit. We do about 45 live events every month, and again, those are going to be really big value adds to your customers as they look at, okay, now we're going to go ahead and deploy Teams, and we want to roll that out to the organization. The first thing that users should be doing with that is attending a 30-minute live training on Teams that's going to show them why Teams is going to matter to them. Good. The next thing here is a polling question that I get, which is, what do I use to communicate? And you may look at this and say, gosh, who's going to fill that out? Well, I can tell you that 97% of people who get to this point in this course, they do fill it out. So they will give us information on, whatever we're asking here. Now, this will take me on to the next asset, and ultimately at the end of the course, I will receive what we call a checkpoint. And checkpoints are there really just to gauge competency. Has the user comprehended this set of learning that's been presented to them in that course? And once I complete that, this will take me right along to the very next course that I've been assigned. Now let's say I'm done. I've taken a course and I've got a meeting to go to, and I'm done as a user, so I exit out of the product. Well, that user is going to be reminded through that great attraction motion and through that communication campaign that they've got outstanding assigned content that needs to be completed. That can be tracked and monitored by management. That can be tracked and monitored by the project team or by IT. And I, as a manager, can look at my team and say, have they completed the training that was assigned to them? And I can prod them along. So there's quite a few different methods for us to keep users motivated in the system. Some of those are the carrot and some of those are the stick. And we find that both are required to really achieve success with the system. Great, so I've shown you skill paths and all of the different asset types that we have, and the fact that you can roll out anything from Windows to OneNote to OneDrive, and we have thousands of assets in the system for you. But one of the things that users really like to do is, if I have a question about, OneNote, I'll type in OneNote here. And this is going to bring back results for me that I can consume. As expected, there is a skill path on OneNote, so I can look at that. There is content on OneNote, so I could click on that and watch a video on, on a OneNote overview, for example. Or, I might really want to attend a training session. So there's an event here on using OneNote to organize my world. Well, that's great. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to register for a day and time that work for me to attend a OneNote session. Because again, I want that contextual learning there. I want to know why I should use OneNote, not just how I need to use OneNote. So the live events are really going to be really beneficial. If I click on View All, you'll see we've got a tremendous amount of live events that we do in the system every single month. Again, 45 events that we'll do in the month. As a minimum. So whether I'm learning about Windows or get to know Yammer or Teams or build SharePoint site from the ground up, those are things that I'm going to find really, really beneficial. Great. I do want to also spend just a moment showing you the reporting side of QuickHelp. Actually, let me jump in and I'll, before I do that, I'll hop over and show you the content. So in the system, we have, again, a tremendous amount of content. If I click on the browse all content, of course I can search for anything, but a lot of times I may want to just come in and see what's available. So if forms, if I'm creating a form, using Microsoft Forms, a great amount of content here. If we aren't even deploying certain things, certain products, then those can be hidden and users never know they're there. So it's a very flexible tool in that regard, but Power BI is a great one. So we've got 71 assets on Power BI. We have a live training event on Power BI. This is a really great tool, especially if you're selling E5 and your customers are using Power BI. This is a really great way to get started on Power BI and be able to dive into that world. So we do have basic things, basic end user things, but we've got great things that are admin focused or focused on people that are really getting into a deeper level of functionality within Office 365. So we're going to support all of that. Great. Let me jump back into the reports here and we'll show you what these look like. So as a user, I may or may not have access to the reporting side. But as an admin and as a partner, you absolutely will have access to this side of the house. So you're going to want to see how is my customer doing, generally speaking, with the learning. In this case, I'm looking at this account and I'm seeing that they're doing pretty well. I can hover over this and it shows me how many event registrations are going on, how many asset views are happening, and I can track that over time. You'll see I can also modify the date range. So if I want to see how we've done over the last 30 days or 60 days or all time, I can do that. Also, you see I've got my assigned content here, and I can see who's gotten their content complete and who hasn't done that. I can export that out into Excel, and then I can really do a lot with that information. The user engagement I love. It shows me how the customer is really engaging with the email campaigns. So we're seeing all the emails that are sent. Well, how many are getting opened and what are the click-through rates there? Because if I'm seeing low engagement or low usage within the platform, I probably don't have to look very far. I can look at the user engagement and see that, wow, that's really low. They're not opening the emails or they're not clicking through the emails. So we're going to need to make an adjustment on how we actually, how we communicate with the users about the system. I can also see the popular user journeys and who are my top users. again, if there's gamification built in and you want to provide rewards for badges, or the customer wants to provide rewards for people that get through certain training modules, that's absolutely something that can be done. Very easy to do that as well. Also, you've got all of the assessments, so this all can be exported out, of course, and really dissected. We've got some great reports that we do also deliver, but we won't go into those today. But this does allow you to pull this up and see how are the users responding to the polling questions, how are they doing with their with their assignments, and are they completing those assignments. So you also have a content side, and I want to spend just a moment on the content library. You can see here that we've got quite a lot of content, and not all of it is published, so it's not active. But if I do want to publish some things like, we've got the admin content for whatever reason, or project online, Bing for Business, there's a little bit of content coming online there as well. Or I want to hide something like Microsoft Flow, or maybe your customer for whatever reason isn't on Windows 10 yet. Well, great, let's get rid of the Windows 10 content until they're standardized there. So we continue to add content to the library, and that content can be activated or turned on as it's appropriate for the customer. I also want to talk a little bit about groups. There's group functionality in the product where we've got system groups and user groups, and organizations are really most successful with QuickHelp when they utilize group functionality. So if you've got admins, or you've got a sales team and want to deliver content that's very specific or relevant to them, the group functionality is tremendous. So users can be bucketed into groups, and content can be delivered to them very specifically based on the groups. I also want to spend a moment on communications. We have tremendous communication plans that are built into the system that you can use right away. So if you wanted to take a communication plan on Teams, for example, we've got a tremendous amount of content that's already built for you and can be deployed to a user or to an organization simply by emailing out a specific communication that can be scheduled to go out next week, next month, next year, whatever makes sense there. And we can preview what that message is going to look like. These are canned, obviously, communications. So the customer logo will appear here, and then a little bit about using Teams and why it matters. And so they'll click on this link here, and it will take them to a very specific asset on getting started with Teams or exploring Teams. So again, those messaging communication plans are really important when we think about change management and the aspects of change management and implementing a change strategy for your customer. The communications are really critical. So we're gonna have some automated communications that happen automatically in the system, but you do have a vast array of content that you can use to drive very specific communications in the organization. This content, before you ask, can absolutely be edited. So if I want to take this where does Teams fit communication, and I want to edit that, I can edit that easily for content, for image caps, for anything, and really customize that email that's going to go out before I send it out to users in an organization. So I think you'll really find the comms tab is super beneficial. Perfect. The user journey is the last component that I want to talk about today, and this is really where you're able to take your groups and assign a very specific journey to them. So whether I'm a new hire, whether I'm an admin, or I'm on the sales team, user journeys can be issued specifically for those people. And so you may notice that not everyone in the organization is assigned the same user journey. Everyone might get one user journey that's the same, but then there may be some classification, and those user journeys can be assigned strategically as you go along. You do not have to assign you don't have to assign multiple user journeys. You can just have one user journey for everyone in the organization as a starting point. That's very easy to do. It may seem like configuration of the system is complicated. It's not. There are templates that are there. ShareWeb will help out tremendously with that, and really it can be as hands-off as you want in terms of the amount of time and effort. My purpose in showing you the back end is really to show you the flexibility of the system that it has. Great, awesome. So I said that was the last thing. There will be one more small thing that I want to talk about, and that is the graph integration. So we do have integration into the customer's Office 365 tenant, which when established brings in users into the QuickHelp system automatically. So that integration is really critical when we think about what happens when an organization has QuickHelp and then they hire 2 new employees. Well, QuickHelp is going to pick up those new licenses automatically in the Office 365 tenant, and they're going to bring those users into the system. And depending on the way you've configured it, we can automatically issue them a Brainstorm license, and they'll receive their learning content and their messaging, and away they go on their own. So there's a lot of options here for keeping that very hands-off for you and having the Office 365 tenant really be the one truth in the experience. So that's a huge benefit when we think about managing the number of licenses that you have and managing the number of users you have assigned or licensed within one particular organization. That graph integration is really, really an important piece.